In today's episode, we talk a lot about how to be kind with your body while you're trying to figure out what kind of workouts and fitness routines work for you. Dr. Monica Blied shares with us how her own experience with chronic illness and neurodivergence has helped her create this app that aims to provide a lot of flexibility and support in not only your fitness routine, but also things like somatic exercises and breathing exercises and basically those things that just help us take care of our body on a day-to-day basis that are actually really hard. I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and we talked a little bit about it in the episode. And sometimes it can feel like with all of the marketing around somatic work, it just feels like we're supposed to be doing this extra chore on top of everything else. And, it can feel really overwhelming. So hopefully what you gain from this episode is that everything that you are learning to better your physical health, better your mental health, better your support system, all of these things should kind of be stacking on top of each other. And they should be just skills that you have that are kind of intertwined throughout your day. It shouldn't be, in my opinion, an hour of somatic work each morning or, needing to go to like a yoga class 3 times a week, in a fancy studio. Like, that's not what it's supposed to look like. It really is supposed to be some chores and some tasks that we're going to talk about here today will be kind of standalone tasks like brushing your teeth. When you're brushing your teeth, the only thing you're doing during that moment is brushing your teeth. You can't do anything else. Maybe do your skincare, but the point is there are some things that will take a chunk of your time, and we have to figure out how to incorporate those things into our day if they're worth it. But that's the other piece to all of this. I mean, how do you know what's worth it for you and your body? And you really aren't going to know until there's a lot of trial and error. So with apps like Dr. Monica's and the FitOn app, which I haven't personally used, so I can't speak to the app myself, but Dr. Blied had a lot of really great things to say about it. So I hope you will listen to this episode with lots of compassion and lightheartedness, because movement shouldn't make your body feel worse. It should be a part of your daily routine that helps give you energy, not suck energy out of you. And so for those of you who have experienced anything like post-exertional malaise, I know that this is a really tricky topic for you. And it's just important to remember that taking it slow, little by little, really starts to add up. And we have to let go of the all or nothing thinking in order to move our bodies in any way. So I hope this feels helpful. And I hope you will join us this Saturday. We are going to be doing a new workshop called Reclaiming Intimacy, a workshop for bodies in pain. That will be this Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. That is February 22nd, 2025. And it will be with Camilla Jones. She's a sex therapist here in Atlanta. And I'm really looking forward to doing this workshop with her. So here is my interview with Dr. Monica Blied. And if you gain anything from this episode, send me a DM on Instagram. I love to hear what little nuggets really stand out to you so I can do more and more episodes around the topics that you guys actually find interesting. It can be really lonely on the other end of a podcast mic, kind of putting this information out into the ether, not really knowing what is resonating or not resonating with people. So anything that you can share that feels helpful for you is helpful for me. So thank you. The Chronic Illness Therapist podcast is meant to be a place where people with chronic illnesses can come to feel heard, seen, and safe while listening to mental health therapists and other medical professionals talk about the realities of treating difficult conditions. This might be a new concept for you, one in which you never have to worry about someone inferring that it's all in your head. We dive deep into the human side of treating complex medical conditions and help you find professionals that leave you feeling hopeful for the future. I hope you love what you learned here, and please consider leaving a review or sharing this podcast with someone you love. This podcast is meant for educational purposes only. For specific questions related to your unique circumstances, please contact a licensed medical professional in your state of residence. So I'd love for you to kind of tell us, Dr. Monica, how you got started in like working with chronic illness and chronic pain, and also what you do in your day-to-day practice. And
Sure.
then we can kind of go a little bit into exactly what we're going to talk about today around fitness.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, Dr. Monica Blied. I am a psychologist in private practice in Claremont, California. And my journey, I would say, started with myself. So, my second year of grad school, I was diagnosed with lupus. And with a lot of autoimmune diseases, they'll lie dormant genetically until something kind of turns it on. And so I did have a trauma in my life at that time that kind of turned it on. And I was really fortunate to have a diagnosis within 6 months of having symptoms. The average time of diagnosis for lupus specifically is over 5 years. And so at this time, I was working clinically. So, doing my practicums with individuals who were living with HIV and AIDS. And I noticed that a lot of the symptoms that I had kind of mapped onto the symptoms that they were having as far as chronic pain and fatigue and inflammation. But a major difference was that I could tell someone that I had lupus and they face some serious stigma and even being ostracized from their communities and church family if they told someone that they were HIV positive. And so I didn't disclose to anyone that year, any of my patients, that I had chronic illness. But I think some of them knew and could tell by the way that I approached our work together and the compassion that I had. And that really shaped my future in wanting to what type of population that I wanted to work with clinically. So fast forward many years after graduating, I worked actually before graduating in my internship. I focused on behavioral medicine, which is the integration of psychology with medical care. So people living with diabetes and hypertension and cancer and the whole gamut, and how do you support someone with lifestyle medicine with different interventions for their mind, body, and spirit. And so after graduating, I went into postdoc that was similar, was health prevention, health promotion and disease prevention at the VA. Ended up leaving my postdoc early to be the manager over the department where I was doing my postdoc, which was such a blessing. It's something that typically doesn't happen. So I was the program manager for health promotion and disease prevention at the VA. And at my particular facility, started the whole health program, which again is looking at how can we help people who are living with chronic pain and chronic illnesses, but at the same time facing this change in laws, the CARA law at that time, where physicians had to titrate down on their opioid medications. So they still have the same amount of pain, but now they don't have access to the treatment that was helping. So developing programs for Tai Chi and acupuncture and chair yoga. I'd gotten certified that year to be able to develop a program in that at the VA, and biofeedback and mindfulness training. And so I was there for just under 3 years developing these programs, and developed a passion for it because these are things that helped people living with chronic illnesses and chronic pain, but then also things that help me. I'm like, perfect, win-win, personal, professional life. And so when I transitioned to my private practice in 2020, I wanted to continue that work. And that's what I've been doing, where a portion of the patient, in private practice is clients, but the client population that I work with are individuals who are living with lupus and fibromyalgia and EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and MCAS and POTS, and so on and so forth. It's normally like you don't have one chronic illness. It's like multiple. And the same thing with me. I was later diagnosed with fibromyalgia and chronic migraines. And so that relatability is something that I bring to my private practice. I'm not a blank slate, I'm a whole person. And I think the clients that I work with really appreciate that. Of course, my experiences will not map on identically to any of my clients. However, I can approach them with a measure of compassionate and open-mindedness that is something that they haven't gotten from therapists who aren't chronically ill, who don't get the limitations and that we have to live with, and the grief and joys that come along with living in a sick body.
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, resonate with all of that. Yeah, and it's not that you as a professional like can't work with someone if you haven't experienced the same trauma or the same thing, but there is, like you said earlier, clients knew by the level of compassion. And I think you can be super compassionate, but there's still just this like small little difference of the kind of compassion that comes with knowing just what it's like to be in a situation like that. And
Mhm.
yeah, I do think clients can pick up on that. And that's why a lot of people are seeking out therapists right now that have their same kind of lived identity of whatever that identity is.
Right, right, right. Yeah. And in part of the identity piece, kind of unfolded for me doing this work because the second half of my private practice, I work with neurodivergent individuals doing assessment. So doing testing to identify individuals who have ADHD or autism or some sort of learning difference. And I actually was not identified to have ADHD until I was 37.
Yeah.
And autism came after that. And so it was strange because with the chronic illness piece, it was just like coming in with compassion with my foreknowing. And then with the neurodivergence piece, like I had been doing assessment for years, so since 2011, and just really connecting super well with people with unique brain styles and like, yeah, I get that. That makes sense.
Yes.
And being able to pick up on those um, little nuances, little differences that you don't necessarily get from just filling out a form because there are some like, yes, that's the answer, but not in all cases. And getting that piece. And later on, finding out, like, oh, that's why I connect so well
Yeah.
with this population. That's, why I can be so effective at this work. And like you said, Destiny, a therapist or a psychologist absolutely does not have to have an identical experience in order to be able to serve a population. Like a surgeon does not have to have had a, heart transplant in order to be really effective as a surgeon, doing heart
Yeah.
transplants. However, when you do, it just adds on this extra dimension that is quite irreplaceable. And so I'm really grateful for the differences that I have, those uniquenesses that I can bring to the work that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. When it comes to exercise, that is something that I think so many of us struggle with for obvious reasons, pain, fatigue.
Yes.
Um, Probably also let me know if we're going to get into this, but for me, there's a lot of like doing it right. And if you have ADHD or if you are autistic, like I
Yeah.
feel like that gets in the way
Yes.
so fast. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
maybe
Perfectionism.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can tell you a little bit about my personal journey, and hopefully this is going to be helpful for some of your listeners. Um, so I'm just laying it out there, you all, that I have to be super vulnerable. And please don't judge me. I mean, judge me, do what you want. I'm still gonna be me. But yeah, super vulnerability, super transparent. So one thing that helps with a number of chronic illnesses and chronic pain is being able to move your body in the right ways. And I'll explain the science behind it first, and then I'll share with you my years of resistance and hard-headedness for various reasons, including what you shared, Destiny, of like the energy and the fatigue and pain, that gets in the way. But exercise is so important for so many reasons. One, it does decrease levels of inflammation in our bodies, and inflammation is the main culprit behind a lot of the pain that people experience, and activation or prolongation of autoimmune diseases. And it's even implicated in depression being present. And a lot of people with chronic illnesses also have anxiety and depression. So that's a huge factor with being able to move your body and exercise, decreasing inflammation. It increases happy chemicals in our bodies and endorphins and those sorts of things. So it can often boost our mood. But something that I learned just a few years ago that was really interesting, when we exercise to the point of like elevating our heart rate, there's this protein that's produced called BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And that does a couple things. One, it binds around the cells in our bodies that have been damaged by stress. So it helps to heal our body. And then it also is involved in neurogenesis, or the creation of new brain cells. And so like we can get all these benefits just from exercising. And so with me being like a scientist practitioner and like a whole human being, like I know all this stuff, and still I struggled for years and years and years with having a regular exercise routine. And though I'm using like past tense verbs, it's still the case today, right? Let me just right?
And my husband's a personal trainer. So.
Oh, okay. So ye are without excuse, girl.
Don't let him hear that, because
right. Same thing. And so, but I have found things that have helped. And so I have a 3-step suggestion or list to help others who are listening.
Can I just say off the bat, I love that you're like, this is a suggestion, because usually when we have these like 3-step processes, it's like, this is my full proof. And like everyone is so individual and different. And so this is just a suggestion. And also clearly it is through a lot of trial and error, which I think always produce the best like processes. But yes. Okay. Give it to me. Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Individualized for each person. So this was my experience, and hopefully it'll help some of your listeners. One, using technology. And so I discovered through multiple Instagram ads, this app named FitOn, FITON. And when the ads were coming on, it was like celebrities were doing it, like, why go to a gym when you can exercise for free at home? And so I was like, okay, let me just try it out. And it legit, yes, they have a membership where you can upgrade or whatever, but like it's hundreds of different workouts by different trainers with different identities and body types for free. And so
I did not know about that.
Right? Yes. And so you can, and FitOn, if y'all are listening to this, go ahead and send me a check.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm not like, an official endorser or whatever, but it has been so helpful for me, where you can do Tai Chi or yoga or stretching or HIIT workouts and using dumbbells and strength training and so many other things with people who are thin, who are muscular, who are, oversized, like they're with people who, are cisgender and, other identities. And it's just like, what? When do you see that in an app? It's just so refreshing, right? So first of all, using technology, where the way that I approached it was I started with turning on the app and doing stretching. And so you can do it from like 5 minutes, 10 minutes up to an hour. So it's just like, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes of stretching. Right. And so number one is using technology. Number two was the slow pacing. And that's what I did, because what happens a lot of times with chronic illness and chronic pain is that once we finally do have some energy, we're like, well, let me just push it out. Like I know I haven't exercised in 3 months, but I'm about to do this, 1 hour HIIT workout and CrossFit and things like that. And then we're just like on our backs, depleted for the next few days or sometimes even few weeks. So slow pacing and listening to our bodies is so essential. You're going to say something, Destiny.
Yeah, no, just agreeing. Yeah, pacing. And there's you might have resources for this too, but there's a girl on Instagram, her tag is actively autoimmune, and her whole like she's a physical therapist like out in I think Australia or something, but she does these slow exercises like you're watching these videos, and I just think it's so important to be able to see what pacing looks like rather than just talking about it. I know for me, like I did not understand it until I had seen her videos like so many times, and then I would get like frustrated too with even how slow she was moving, like what?
Right, right, right,
And then I'm like, wait, okay, this is the work. This is the work.
right,
Learn
right.
to slow down.
Yes. And when you're actually doing it, you're like, oh, this feels good. Like I can do this. And the next day, I could even do it again because it didn't take away all my spoons.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
That's a great way to gauge how, if you've done too much or not, are you able to do it again the next day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love
And so I started with 5 minutes of stretching, like literally on my bed, because there are days when getting out of the bed is so much work. And so, like with the app, you can cast it to your TV. So, and I'd have it on my phone, cast it to my TV, and just be doing like, range of motion exercises on the bed. If you guys want an additional resource, I actually have videos on my YouTube page at Dr. Blied that have range of motion exercises and have chair yoga exercises as well for free.
love that. Amazing. Yes, but you have a YouTube channel, Cherry. Yeah, and then maybe you can tell us a little bit about chair yoga too.
Yes, yes. And that's also featured in the Faces of Health app, which is a mental health skills training app, but it also teaches somatic exercises and has a chair yoga feature in there and is also completely free. Faces of Health. And so just popping out resources for you all. And so I would start with that. And then eventually I built up the strength and I'd say vitality, but the energy to be able to do longer stretches. And so it would be like 20-minute stretches and then 30-minute stretches. And you would not believe it. Now I can do the strength training things. I have 3-pound dumbbells. And so I started with the 3-pound dumbbells, working my arms and stuff. And it got to the point, I mean, like,
All
what?
right, let's
What?
go.
Right? Yeah. So those of you who are just listening and not watching, I just put like up my arms and made like
Yes.
it's symbol, and you can like see a little bit of muscle. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yes, love that. Amazing. Definitely this
Right?
will be on YouTube and Spotify video. So if you are
Okay.
listening, please go watch.
So yeah, so and then eventually the 3-pound was too light for me. And so I started with 5-pound weights. And so this was not over the course of a month. Like this has been over the course of a year and a half. And so people who are not chronically ill may listen to that and be like, wow, that's pathetic. But like when you get it, you get it. If you know, right? And so this is a huge accomplishment.
And if you are chronically ill, on one hand, if you're in the right space, this is really hopeful. In another space, it can be like a year and a half, like I don't even want to start because it just feels too long to think about. It feels out of reach. I'm never going to last that long. I'm never going to be that consistent. So, like, these are some of the things that can come up. And this is what we work on in therapy. I think finding your motivation and your why is so individual.
Right.
Because we all have different like backgrounds and experiences and thoughts and all of that. But
Right.
these like more general, like what we're doing here in the podcast, like this is the kind of a general guideline or framework or structure. I know I've listened to millions of these, and that's thousands of them probably. That's what helped me find my own. And so you can
Yes.
listen to these things, take what you think applies to you, try not to let hopelessness get the best of you. And if it is, like, that's where our therapy services come into play.
Exactly. And working with your therapist and finding what works for you and taking it day by day or exercise by exercise. And let me be again humble, open, and transparent. Let's get hot up in here, like Pastor Mike Todd would say. Um, and it was not like, as far as consistency, this was not doing it every day for a year and a half. This would be like doing it 2 days, like having a real good week of, exercising 2 days that week, and then maybe not exercising again for 3 weeks, but then having another good week where I'm doing it like 3 days. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm
Mm.
consistent. And then not exercising for like 2 weeks after that, but
Yeah.
trying what I can when I can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been my experience too, much to my husband's dismay, but that's all right. That's okay. We've come to an understanding.
Right. No, a part of it is like listening to your body,
Yeah.
and sometimes, your body is like, nope, I don't want to do anything, but you know that what's best for you is to do something. And so again, it can just be lifting your arms over your head,
Yeah.
only at goalposts and not all the way over if you have any issues with blood pressure, but like
Right.
lifting your arms up, stretching it out, twisting from side to side, something to get your body moving.
And, there's sensation in that isn't comfortable. Like, I know this morning I myself, this was a big thing for me. Like, I sleep very like braced. And so I wake up very tight. And then when you go to like stretch that out, even slowly, I feel like it can be really uncomfortable. And then for somebody who doesn't have the right emotional support or the right, like, just support in general around this, it's like, oh, well, I'm like hurting myself more. So then we stay kind of bundled up. But discomfort is so much a part of the process. It doesn't mean you
Right.
should be hurting. It doesn't mean you should
Right.
be pushing through it. Oh, discomfort. It's such a this is like, it's so hard to talk about in words because on one hand, you should not push through the pain. And on
Right.
the other hand, there are a lot of uncomfortable things that you should slowly and gently keep moving through. And that's hard to figure out, I feel like.
Yeah. And so it can start with physical therapy. Some insurances, like my insurance recently offered it, have physical therapy remotely, where it's like videos online and, someone like emails you or texts you once a week to check in. And so see if under your insurance plan, there's something that you have access to where you can get that initial training and education on what's going to work for your body and within your limitations.
I think a lot of people think of physical therapy just as like, an injury or like rehab and technically, I mean, especially when insurance is paying for it, yes, there has to be goals, but my physical therapist and I work on like, yeah, a lot of times sometimes I'll come in and she knows me so well now and she'll be like, "Oh, today's a breathing day." And like all
Yes.
we're doing is like some cat cows and some
Yes.
like
Right.
breathing.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
true, like, that's what my nervous system needs in that moment, that's what my muscles need in that moment, and that's physical therapy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't aware of occupational therapy. And that's a therapist who can help with, given what your body can do, how can we help you live your life? So if you have a hard time with mobility or reaching for things, what kind of tools can help with that? Or if your bones pop out of place, what kind of braces can help, to stabilize, so you can have an occupational therapist in addition to your physical therapist to help again with your whole health and well-being and your psychotherapist. So your mental health therapist, because that is an essential part of your well-being, making sure that your mind is right, because whatever's happening in your mind will show up in your body.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing I've gotten overwhelmed with in the past is, like, having all these different professionals and realize so I just think it's important to realize that each person serves a different purpose, but doesn't mean you have to have them all at the same time. You
Right.
can, like, learn, take something and I've had people, like, because I am an out of pocket, like out of network therapist, right? And so I've had clients where it's like, we've done a lot of really great work. And now I really think you need to focus on finding a physical therapist. Like, and then you can come back to me for some maintenance work. Like, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So money is like a part of it, but also just like your time, right? All these different appointments, and
Right.
everything builds on each other. There's really no right or wrong of like, see this one and then this one and that one. It's just where you're at. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that brings up what you were mentioning in the beginning with like that perfectionism and like that ordering of how things have to be done. And there's no like foolproof way for anybody. It's personalized medicine, lifestyle medicine, figuring out what works for you, trial and error, and then continuing with that as long as it works. The third thing, so we talked about technology, we talked about slow pacing. The third thing is friends. And so the awesome thing about the FitOn is that you can like share your screen with Zoom. And so I'd have like workout sessions with friends over Zoom where we would just like share the screen and we'd both be doing our stretching or we'd both be doing, you know, our yoga exercises. And that was really motivating with accountability. Like, okay, let's meet once a week and do that. It didn't last very long because um, friendships
Schedules
are hard and hobbies
change.
are
And,
pretty,
yeah.
yeah.
I know that's the hardest part about some of this too, right? Like some of these things, it's so hard to like, get your friends together. Like everyone has different schedules. Like, but these things really are, if we all make an effort, it really makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Finding someone even like you know, in a support group, like, hey, can we meet? And if that could be the group itself. You know, I'm not sure if that's something that you could offer Destiny, like, hey, let's get together and let's do these stretching routines, because I'm not sure if you know over Zoom, you can share like your iPhone or iPad screen.
Oh no, I didn't know
Yes,
that.
girl, under
Oh,
advanced setting when you do your screen share.
oh,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Oh
And
my,
so
yes.
you can hear the audio and see the video and everything, and we can just all do it together.
I
And
love
it's
that.
so helpful when you feel like you're not doing it alone.
I have thought so many times, I've never done it, but of like just hosting like these office hours where people can come and do their PT exercises on Zoom and I'll like be there, but I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not telling anyone what to do.
Right,
It's like
right.
you take what your physical therapist has given you and then show up here and do this. And so if anyone is interested in that, send me an email and I will put it together, but I just don't want to put it together if no one wants to do it. Jumping in here because I actually edited this episode in December of 2024, and this is now February of 2025. And I do actually have this body doubling group now inside my membership, Mentally Well While Chronically Ill. We meet most Mondays at 4 o'clock to do a body doubling group. So you can come and do your PT exercises, cleaning your house, meal prepping, journaling, breath work, whatever it is that you feel like, is hard for you to do on a consistent basis. And it would be helpful to have someone else there kind of nudging you to be like, hey, let's do it. We can do this together. That is now inside the Mentally Well While Chronically Ill membership. We also have a support group on Fridays at noon Eastern, and then 1 to 2 educational workshops per month that you get all for the price of $17 per month. This membership is meant to be low cost and it's not a replacement for therapy, but it is a really good adjunct to therapy. So I hope you'll join us.
Okay. I love that. Sounds good. So the last thing, so this is like a little bonus that is complementing everything else that I've said. And then after this is done, I'd love for us to actually practice and do it together, actually
Yeah,
do some exercise
I
together.
would love that.
And I'm kind of throwing this on you. You didn't know before the podcast.
No, that's okay. Go for
But
it.
the last thing is grace and compassion.
Yes.
Self grace, self compassion, because it is so easy and even automatic for us to beat ourselves up of I'm not doing this well, I'm not doing this right, I'm not doing this often enough.
Yeah.
But living in a chronically ill body, living in a body with chronic pain is hard and something that most people do not understand if they don't have that experience. And so, if you can just bathe yourself in compassion with, I'm doing my best, and that is enough, and my best will look different every day.
That
Affirm
last,
yourself with that. Remind yourself of that. That's what's going to help us sustain.
yeah, that last part, it's gonna look different every day. Really resonates. Um, yeah, so the technology piece is really cool.
I'm gonna
Slowing
just type
down,
this up.
yeah, pacing, um, taking things slow, and then using friends. And I think especially for like any kind of neurodivergence, like body doubling is just
Yes.
I-
Can you
so
explain what body doubling is for people who
yeah,
aren't familiar?
it's really like just being around somebody else.
Yep.
One, I think like if the other person is doing the same thing as you, there's this mirror neuron that your mirror neurons get turned on and help you like physically be more motivated to do it. Like your body just wants to do it. But also sometimes people, it doesn't even have to be doing the same activity. Like, as a teenager, like you clean your room better when your friends are sitting in your
Right.
room. They're not even helping you.
Exactly.
They're just there. And some people will start to talk like when I hear body doubling online, people will be like, yeah, because, you know, I don't want to be judged for like not doing it. So it makes me like, but I don't think it has to be all like that. I think like we are just communal beings, and
Yeah.
I don't even, maybe judgment plays a part in it sometimes, but of why we're like motivated to do something. But I just think it's the energy of like being around other people. It just
Yeah.
physically gives you more energy.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am going to share my screen,
Okay.
and we're going to do some chair yoga range of motion exercises together. And these are on the Faces of Health app.
And remind me, is that your app?
That is. Yeah.
Okay.
Right
Okay.
up the
I don't think we fully introduced Faces of Health, but
Okay.
um, yeah, maybe you can say a little bit more about that too.
Yeah. So, Faces of Health, like your face on your head. It is an app that I created in 2022. I believe it's been out for a couple years because I wanted to make mental health skills more accessible for everyone. And so within this app, it teaches cognitive behavioral therapy skills. And these are things that you can use in conjunction with your therapist. These are things that you can use on your own while you're kind of working up the nerve to start therapy. It teaches body based and grounding skills to help you calm yourself if you're in a panic or experiencing spiraling thoughts of anxiety or kind of having a hard time pulling yourself out of depression. There are resident experts who are there, all women of color doctors who are talking about journaling for sexual trauma recovery, talking about, there's a psychiatrist there talking about, like, the questions to ask when you meet a psychiatrist or a medication prescriber, and when is the right time to start medication. There's someone who's talking about just trauma in general, sleep hygiene, and so on and so forth. And what we're going to see right now are chair yoga, range of motion exercises. There's a range of breath work exercises. And so trying to make, again, mental health skills accessible. And it is fully free for everyone who downloads it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So let me share my screen, and we're going to do a couple things together.
Yes. Looking forward to it.
All right. Are you connected to a pair of headphones? Other device. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to hear it because I haven't shared on this computer yet. So we're going to start with shoulders range of motion exercises. Let me just share with you guys what this looks like. So there are body-based skills, breath work, audio file links. There's a coloring book, a planner in there. And we're going to start with body-based skills. There's tapping, EFT tapping, somatic exercises, and we're doing chair yoga range of motion. Can we actually do head and neck? Because I'm not sure if you saw me rolling my neck earlier. I'm having some neck tightness.
Love it. I am as well. So that's what I was doing when I woke up this morning.
Yeah, let's start there, and then we'll do waist and hips. And each video is like 2 to 3 minutes long.
Perfect.
This is Dr. Blied, and
Can you
these
hear it?
are range of motion exercises. Range of motion exercises help to increase our joints mobility and flexibility, and also helps to loosen the fascia, and that helps with everything in our bodies. You can learn more specifically about the benefits during my chair yoga course. Well, let's start with head and neck movements. Okay, so I want you to get comfortable and go ahead and lift your chin to the ceiling and then slowly drop your chin to your chest. Okay, as you're doing it, make sure that you're breathing. Okay, so inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Okay. Now with your chin at your chest, I want you to swing your head around in a half moon or half circle like a pendulum swing, okay, where we're touch each ear to the shoulders, okay? So chin to chest, and then swing around ear to shoulder, swing around the other way, ear to shoulder. Inhale, exhale when you land. Inhale, swing, exhale when you land. Inhale, swing, exhale when you land. Couple more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And back to center. Now I want you to drop your ears towards your shoulder. And just take a breath here. Okay, back up to center. Your side. None of this should hurt, okay? So if it hurts, listen to your body and ease off the movement. Top. One more time. Side. And up to the side. And up. Now I want you to take your chin to the shoulder, okay? So you're going to look over your right side. Breathe. Inhale, going to the other side, and exhale when you get there. Take a breath while you're there. Okay, back to center. Inhale. Exhale. Now we're going to lengthen the stretch. I want you to drop your chin to your shoulder. Notice how that feels. Notice the lengthening in your neck and in your spine. Okay, back up and to center and the other side. Breathe. Lengthen that stretch. Chin down to shoulder. Breathe. Up. And here we are.
Do we have time for one more?
Yes. And I wanted to just give some thoughts on that too. So like, one, I'm so glad you said like, if it feels painful, ease up. Don't just stop. Don't just quit. Like that's, I think, the big problem. I know I've experienced this. I still kind of can get caught up in it, but I remind myself all the time, it's if you are experiencing discomfort, a lot of times we feel like, okay, we just need to stop what we're doing, but then we don't learn anything from the experience. So it's ease up and find where like where you are comfortable again within this movement.
Yes.
Having a personal trainer as a husband, like he always would show the exercises, and then I would feel so like I had to look like he did. And
Yeah.
he also is not good at like, no, like being like less at a lower level than where he's at.
Yeah.
So it was like, I felt like I had to like stretch as deeply or right. And rather than I had this image of like where I had to be rather than what the process to get there looked like.
Yes. Yes.
So, and then the other thing too that came to mind is like these are so foundational, these exercises. And when you like feel like you've gotten to like a health goal, let's say you're like trying to do something for your health and you get there, you don't just like, okay, well, I don't have to like drink water anymore because I made this goal. Like these are the foundational like
Right.
water. This is like
Yeah.
drinking water every day.
Yes.
So those
I
were the
love
thoughts that
that.
came up for me as I was doing that.
I love that. I'm going to use that. This is like drinking water. Yeah. Because I talk about like stress management strategies, deep breathing, like your nutrition, do it for breakfast, lunch, dinner. So that when you're under stress, those things can pull up like a muscle memory.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do
Definitely
one more.
apply. Yeah, please.
We'll do waist and hips range of motion exercises. And like I mentioned before, all of the videos are like 2 to 3 minutes. And they also explain the science behind what we're doing, because I found myself like, I need to know why, like, why are we doing this breath work? Like, why are we doing this grounding? You know, what does it mean? How does it help? And so understanding our biology and the neuroscience of these strategies helps people to explain it to others and also stick with it.
Totally.
Okay.
This is Dr. Blied with more range of motion exercises, which are great for decreasing inflammation and increasing relaxation, as well as improving our mobility and our flexibility. And they can all be, as you've seen, done from the comfort of your chair or your couch or even the side of your bed. So now we're going to work on waist and hip movements. So first, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and twist to your side. So you're seated with your legs in front of you, with your feet underneath your ankles underneath your knees, and just twist to the side. I'm going to start by twisting to my right side and then look behind you.
Oh my gosh, Destiny, I needed this so much.
Me too.
Remembering to breathe. I don't know how good my microphone is, but hopefully you didn't hear the crackle and pop from my body, because it'd be like that sometimes. All right, so now go ahead and switch to the opposite side. Remembering to breathe. Oh, that's so good. Let's do that one more time for me, but for you too. Okay. Good. Now I want you to hold on to the sides of your chair, and you're going to walk your hips to the front of the chair and then back. Okay, so one side, then the other. It's one side, then the other. Okay, not falling off the chair, but just back and forth. Let's get some mobility in those hips, okay? Again, up. You might look a little silly, look like an octopus going back and forth, but that's okay. It's just me and you here. Or maybe it's a group and that's fine too. All right, listen to your body and what it needs. If you need any additional stretch, I want you to step out one knee to the side and then the other, okay? So I'm going to take my right knee first, and I'm just going to step it out to the side. All right, you may be able to do a full 90-degree angle, or maybe you can't. Just do what you can. And then I'm going to place my hands on the inside of my knees and press outwards just a little bit. Listen to your body. This should not be painful. If it is, ease up and focus on your breath instead. All right, let's bring that back to center. And I'm going to do my other leg. If that one's a little tighter, so it looks extra work. All right. Breathe. Good. All right. You may need to stretch out your leg after that. All right. Now what I want you to do is draw one knee into your chest, holding it for support, and then just do circles with that knee. So I'm starting in the clockwise direction. You can start in whatever direction you want to. This is really good for our hips, our hip flexors, and our thighs. And if you want to add in a rotation of your feet and ankles as well, and help to increase our strength and our balance in our ankles, which is especially important if we do have issues with balance. Okay, how in the opposite direction? Okay, good. Not sure about you guys, but I was on the foot. All right, so opposite leg. And I just so happen to start with the counterclockwise direction for this one. Doesn't matter what you start with. Go ahead and if you want to, add in the rotation for the ankle as well. Remembering to breathe. And then opposite direction. Again, we're doing this 3 minutes, 3 times a day. If you do more, then great. But again, we're doing what we can, when we can. All right. Okay, so now you're going to slide your right heel towards your left hip. So that's up like this, and then gently press down. And if you can't get it all the way up, that's fine. If you can only get it all the way down there towards your the mid shin, that's fine too. Do what works for your body, listening to your body. All right, we're going to do the opposite. Press down. Good work. Thanks so much for joining me.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. So then in that video, like just the reminder that when we use time-based exercises, that the whole reason for that is that you can meet yourself where you're at. It's not do 50 reps. It's
Right.
if you can only do 3 circles in 1 minute, then that's what your body can do. And the more you meet your body where it's at, the more you'll be able to progress. But if you keep trying to push past it, and that was my problem for so long too, and probably is still, I probably still like get caught up in that and don't even realize, but you're trying to do something the way the trainer has told you to, or like, and then you just feel defeated after. Whereas when you meet yourself where you're at, your body's like, oh, I trust you to do that exercise again because you didn't try to kill me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, again, that grace and self-compassion come in again. Like, okay, I was only able to do 2 minutes today. You did 2 minutes today.
Yes.
That's better than yesterday.
Yep.
And everyone starts somewhere. And again, progress because your body can trust you.
Yes. I love this so much. I love, so your app, there's this app and then the Fit. Tell me the difference between this app and then the FitOn that you mentioned earlier. That one's like just exercise, whereas yours has like a lot of mental health kind of stuff.
Yes. So FitOn is something that I use. I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever. However, like I said, if y'all are listening, you can send me a check. But it has a lot of different exercises in different bodies, and, disabled bodies, paraplegic, and in appearingly fit bodies and thin bodies and thicker bodies, and brown bodies and white bodies. And a variety of different exercises. So you can just do stretches, or you can do, not just do, but like stretches are really foundational. You can do stretches, or you can do yoga or Tai Chi, or you can do dances. There's like a lot of dance exercises on there, or strength training, and so on and so forth. And you can fit it to the energy capacity that you have, whether it be 5 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. And so that's something that I love to try to do whenever I have a workout motivation as well.
Thanks for listening. If you learned something new today, consider writing it down in your phone notes or journal and make that new neural pathway light up. Better yet, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram, email me, or leave a voice memo for us to play on the next show. The way you summarize your takeaways can be the perfect little soundbite that someone else might need. And lastly, leaving a review really helps others find this podcast, so please do if you found this episode helpful. And P.S., clicking subscribe ensures you'll be here for the next episode. See you then!